All right, another day, another JT Daniels update. We're getting pretty good at this these days. Today, Thursday, uh, about 10 days before the game with the Gators. I think this is actually a substantial update, so stop me if you've heard that before. But this really does seem like something that's moving forward in a positive direction for JT Daniels getting on the field, at least in the coming future. Kirby talked with Chris Lowe today. If you don't know Chris Lowe, he's been around the block for a while. Was at the Knoxville News Sentinel for a while. Now he's at ESPN. So you wonder why some guys get access. ESPN, obviously a partner of Georgia with all the contracts with broadcasting. Chris talked to Kirby today, and looks like JT Daniels is further along than any other time that he's been since he's been hurt. Here's what Kirby told Chris Lowe today. He said, JT practiced Wednesday and did about everything. I thought Wednesday was the first time since Vanderbilt that I could have said, man, he looks like he could play. Now he's rusty, and Thursday, which is today, will probably be the telltale practice because it will be the first time since he's gone back to back throwing after he threw a lot Wednesday. Kirby talked to us on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday, after the Tuesday practice, he said that JT that sounded like the most JT had thrown in some time, which was the Tuesday practice, and then it sounds like Wednesday JT did almost everything on. I believe it's Wednesday, he told us that JT was rusty. So we're getting to the point here where it does look like you're going to have JT, not eligible to play. He's been eligible to play the whole time, but kind of cleared to play in a way that is him getting back to what we saw at the close of last season. I mean, we're at the point here with JT where he's not been healthy almost the entire time he's been at Georgia, and it's been one thing or another. The ACL at the beginning of his time. I mean, we basically recovered through that all of 2020, and that's not nothing to deal with. So that's been the significant issue. And then coming into the season, he was more banged up than Georgia let on or anyone let on, and he was not made available to the media. I don't think he was after SEC Media Days, which is in July. They didn't play Clemson until September. So JT has been under wraps, for lack of a better term, from us. The bulk of this season, we're 7 games in. Florida game will be the 8th. But it does look like now the likelihood that he'll play coming on at the end of the year is higher than it's been. The Vanderbilt game, JT played about a quarter, and that was it. And they got out so fast. I think it was 35-0, 28-0, and he was just throwing it like it was no big deal. But I think after that game, when they realized with Arkansas, they were saying it was a game-time decision, he just was not healthy, and or at least not healthy enough to play. And people should be thankful that Stetson's been around, and he's brought a new dynamic, which is the run game. I think if you do go back to JT Daniels, you're going to lose that. And that's not nothing. The ability for Stetson to run is extremely effective. I've talked about that, how good Stetson's been with his legs, and it's been very good. And then, Kirby touched on that with Chris as well. He said, I'm not sure we know who the better one is based on which game plan we have. There are teams we play that we have to be able to use a quarterback and run game. Well, that's Stetson. There are teams we play you have to get the ball out quickly and be accurate. That's JT. But the first thing is that JT is that he's got to be healthy. I think I don't know why this interview took place on a Thursday. This is about as an island as it gets in terms of Kirby not talking to us, because he spoke on Wednesday to everybody league-wide at the SEC teleconference, and then he won't talk again until Monday. There's no, TV to do on Thursday and Friday. There's no post-game Saturday. So this is a time where, Kirby doesn't have to deal with the media, and yet Chris Lowe got him, or Georgia arranged it, one of the two. So maybe they had something to say, because certainly if Kirby doesn't want to talk, he doesn't have to unless it's these, sort of broadcast mandated things. So they had something to say, and, is it a signal, or I don't know. I mean, every time you talk, there's a message that you're trying to deliver if you're Kirby Smart. So he did this. He's trying to say something. What it means, I'm not sure. it does seem to me like my view of this has been JT needs to play. Like if he's going to be in your future, which he obviously is, he needs to start playing because he's not played. It's not that he can't play. You talk about he's rusty. Well, yeah, I mean that's clear. Why? I mean, why would he not be rusty? He's not hardly played. So that he's getting back into the flow of things with practice, everything will take over. And when he does play, whenever that is, I would expect that he doesn't play super great, but we can't know. And I've said that in the past and corrected myself. I mean, he didn't play all of 2020 until the Mississippi State game, and with the exception of like a throw or two, he lit them up. And then you go a week later was Carolina, and he wasn't asked to do a lot. A couple weeks after that, you got the Mizzou game where he just threw all over Missouri. And so it doesn't seem to take JT long to get going. But there's another part in this that Kirby's talking about how they've both played well enough that it doesn't really matter who's out there, who's the first one out there. No, it doesn't. But you don't want to get in a situation like you got at Florida right now, which is a train wreck. And you've got the fan base split. I don't know what's going on in the locker room. I have the first idea, but it's clear they want Anthony Richardson to be their guy. But you've had Emory Jones, who's played well at times and played like himself at times, which is can be inaccurate with the ball. We don't know what you've got with Anthony Richardson. With Georgia, you know what you've got with these guys. They both started, I don't know, I'm guessing here 7 games at Georgia, something like that. They've only lost 2 in that time. Those were both with Stetson. One at Alabama, one when Stetson got hurt against Florida, up 14. Does JT ever take over in 2020 if Stetson doesn't get hurt in that Florida game? Because then they went with Dwan Mathis. Obviously, they were still not comfortable with JT at the time. The other thing that's clear here is Georgia's not going to play guys unless they're healthy. I mean, period. And what does that mean for George Pickens, Dominique Blaylock, people like that who have been sidelined with ACL injuries? It means that they're not going to go until they're ready to go. Ron Corson's been around the block for a long time. He's just not going to let people out there that are banged up in a way that could be detrimental for them and their future. So I expect JT to play against Florida. I don't know if I expect him to start, but I expect it to be, the cynical part of me says this is their way of getting JT back into the mix. He probably will not start against Florida, but he'll play at least half, if not more than that, of the snaps. I think the problem, if you want to call it that, with that is, Stetson's played well enough this season that you can make the case that he should start the rest of the way. And this is something that Kirby talks about at the end here, and that is this. He says, I think there's a feeling in the outside world that you can't win it all without JT. I don't know or can't say if that's accurate or not. I know there's nothing that he's shown that Stetson hasn't shown us that leads us to believe that's the case. Well, the only caveat that I would say with that is Georgia has been more explosive, generally speaking, with JT. They've been pretty explosive with Stetson, but the vertical passing game has been better with JT over a long period of time. I just would not want to give up the run game with Stetson because they're not taking Stetson. Defenses are not honoring him. And he has had some really long runs in these games. One against Kentucky, the one against Auburn. Those are some of the most memorable photographs that I get from games because guy is running wide open and he's not slow. So he is a real danger with his feet. You think about that Arkansas game in 2020 where he sprinted around to the right-hand side on that bootleg. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, and scored the 2-point conversion. That changed that game. I mean, so, and the other thing too is, I'm talking about the health of the quarterbacks. It really does need to be that this Georgia team gets all of its parts healthy on offense. There was some reporting today from Jake Rowe about Kendall Milton being out for the next couple of games. Georgia needs to get healthy on offense. They can lose to Florida. It's not probable. In fact, I'd say there's a pretty small chance, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And you need to get healthy after this Florida game. Missouri is bad. Charleston Southern is bad. Georgia Tech is bad. So you have the Gators and the Vols That's really who you have to get through. And not only you got to get right. You got 5 games to get right for whoever's going to emerge from the West. If it's Alabama, you know what you're dealing with there. If it's Mississippi, Matt Corral's going to score a lot of points. Even against Georgia, he's going to score more points than they're used to. So this is a time where it's kind of get right season. You've got this final 10 days to get right before the Gators. If you come out of that game healthy, you're kind of really in good shape. But I think for JT specifically, there's a lot for his future that matters coming up here. He's got the future of his college career, his professional career, and this team's future. It's all right now coming up. And I think for Georgia, you want a JT Daniels that's healthy as best you can. There's a reason he started against Clemson and played all of those snaps. There's a reason he closed the season as a starter. There's also a reason that Stetson has been the guy. And what we're going to see here moving forward is what the movement is there. Kirby Smart's always going to be criticized for quarterback decisions. That's what happens with head coaches. But Kirby specifically, everyone is holding the Jake Fromm, Justin Fields thing over him, as if Dabo looks like a quarterback whisperer right now, or Dan Mullen looks like a quarterback whisperer. And the only person that seems to have gotten it right was Nick Saban. But the question is, why were you not starting Tua the whole time if he was as good as it looked like he was? You can't ever get this stuff right if you're head coach. But you do need a healthy JT Daniels to make this decision, a full one that you have all of your information. Then you can decide what you're going to do. And we'll talk about it over on Dog Post. We'll see you over there.